IT loves to talk about security, and they should. It's their job and duty. However, responsible AI and security are kind of being addressed well today. Where it's struggling is insecurity. And this is a challenge because IT doesn't feel the need to do this, right? Isn't this HR's domain? Isn't this like some other group that needs to do it? Well, it turns out it's actually really important for IT leadership to actively share and contribute here, not just to be passive or reactive to HR or business demands, because it, again, drastically changes the adoption, but it also changes the leadership engagement. It changes the IT's position with line of business leaders and more. Basically, one of the things we know is that reporting from end users, which are called qualitative measures, surveys, things like that, is grossly underreporting today. It's a problem. On statistical average, it is certainly underreporting. So since we use that for ROI and the things I mentioned earlier to make better decisions, the fact that it's underreporting is a problem, and we need to get closer to more real reporting. Now, team-based adoption is one way to do that. I've talked about a few others actually earlier, just measuring ROI and talking about these challenges, even doing surveys. Many customers aren't doing enough of those. But actually, the reason this is a challenge is because there's not a lot of incentive for an end user to share, a line of business leader, whoever it is, to say, hey, I'm using AI in these ways, and it's helping me do these things in more effective ways, because they're kind of celebrated as a hero for performing more and producing more. Most people have a fear of automation and cost cutting. And we know, you know, there's a 5x higher return on investment if you focus on collaboration with AI as a strategy versus replacement with AI. We also know that for every one replacement opportunity today, there's a 20 to 30 plus collaboration opportunities with AI. Again, going back to the lowercase p process. So even though people have these concerns about automation, that's not really the problem today. It's certainly a societal discussion, but it's not the industry or organizational problem. In fact, every organization at the executive level we've talked to who's talked about it openly, about, hey, can we reduce jobs, et cetera, in these different capacities? And I get it. We always come to the conclusion when they're educated and we walk through it that it's much, much better to retrain and reskill your employees. Because in these big transformative eras, when you do that, you come out ahead in the months and years ahead. It's really critical to double down on actual people. Industrial era, we can go through each of these exponential technologies and show evidence in history where people cut, they use it as a air cover. They say, oh, we're cutting because of AI. That's not really the reason. Any of those tactics are really dangerous and bad to do today. And hopefully we can address this, at least with IT leadership, and then eventually broader executive groups. Why is this important? Well, number one, all the real issues with AI today, almost all of them, the majority of them, are related to a sense of identity and who you are. Remember, differentiated value is about what you bring to the organization. Is that personal or people-based process stuff? And that is actually the very thing that's the most dominant challenge. Impersonation, falsification, all these other things. And we just had an election in the US that did this a lot. So there's even more data to show here. So people are hearing about this. The question is, how do we address that in the organization? Another example is how do we address the fact that people feel AI is going to take their job and embrace collaboration with AI? Well, it turns out that almost every leader, the data is much more pronounced now, won't hire people without AI skills. For the vast majority of roles that people hire for, they want people with AI skills. Yet those very same leaders aren't offering things like generative AI training or, Copilot training, the things we talked about earlier. So again, what we're saying here is that there's a gap. We have to address insecurity, not just security, and we have to do it through a variety of different programs and changes. And many of these are things that IT can lead because these are technology training programs, these are technology digital excellence programs, these are technology ROI analysis scenarios, and much more. So I hope that that gave you a couple ideas today of ways to address these three big challenging changes for IT, and that they all have to be addressed. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, I want more. No problem. Everything we talked about today, we've put into a 30, 60, and 90-day plan. So these are the exact same things we've already talked through, where we talked about how to do these different activities, at least somewhat, and it gives you some ideas on how to approach it. And these are all things you can do as an individual, as a leader. There's all these things can be addressed in the near term. You can do all these in 90 days. Now, if we do these things, we will be in a much better position than we are today. We will certainly be more proactive in our approach. And so my ask for all of you as we transition to Q&A is if this resonated with you, if some of this content was helpful, lead. take the challenge of pressing priorities and being AI ready by doing a proactive IT leap and finding whatever the path is. Maybe it's, different than those 30, 60, 90-day examples I gave, but find a way to do it together.